Hello, gorgeous Gemini friends, and welcome to February 2021. Wow. You are going to be in a phase. This year is definitely strong on the air energy, but February especially is dominated by Aquarius. And I am not joking around when I say that. We have Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn, obviously, in Aquarius for the Sun, at least for the first few weeks of this month. We have Venus moving into Aquarius on the 1st. We have a Mercury retrograde in Aquarius the first 3 weeks of the month. And we have a new moon in Aquarius. So that's going to be our theme. That's going to be the dominating energy all the way through Aquarius season. Of course, at the end of the month, Venus and the Sun move into Pisces. Mercury starts moving forward, and we have a full moon in Virgo at the very end of the month. And that's a bit of a different flavor. However, this energy for you all is kind of great news. I was thinking about you before I sat down to talk today because I was thinking about how for a long time, especially if you were a Gemini rising, all that energy in Capricorn, we were working with Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto, and for a while there, the south node of the moon in Capricorn. We were doing a ton of shadow work there. And this is 8th house energy of death and transformation. So Geminis in general, we're just going through this huge theme of changing shape, changing identity, going underground and coming back up, resurrecting over and over again, facing into these deep depths. And as we move into all this Aquarian energy, it's a completely different story. We're moving into the 9th house, which is about being intellectual, having a big vision, right? And this is all trining with the north node moving through your sign this time of year. So this is energy that flows with you so much more easily, that kind of brings you up and out into that natural air element, and can be really fun to coast on and play with and explore and be curious about. And so this month in general, you may be feeling a really big lightness, even with the Mercury retrograde, which, yes, is going to ask us to review. It's going to ask us not to get too overeager with this Aquarian energy, right? Because we're not going to be able to get it all done in February, and that's not the goal. We don't have to move super fast. There is some integration. However, I think you all are going to be finding that you're feeling very playful, very open, very curious, very expansive, and it's going to be a lot of fun for you. However, you did learn some things during that time with Capricorn's energy, right? You learned how to anchor in. You learned how to sit with maybe parts of yourself you'd never sat with before. You learned some really great grounding techniques, and that is going to serve you very well in this heightened Aquarian time. Hermit, speaking of grounding, this heightened Aquarian time, it's just very important for you throughout the month to find ways to come back to something that helps you feel secure and safe. Because Aquarian energy, this much Aquarian energy, for everyone, is going to be very adventurous. It's going to be very Ace of Swords, love it. It's going to be very interested in seeing what's possible. It's going to be very interested in expansion and growth and change. That's awesome. I'm all about that. 2 cards wanted to come out, Strength and the 8 of Swords. Interesting combo of cards, my friends. It's a very ready energy. It's very ready and willing, and that's great. But in order to sustain that, we have to be able to feel safe in our expansion, right? If we just push ourselves too far, we just start to feel frazzled and fried, and we fry our circuits. So you want to feel that you've got something holding you so that you can do some really fun, adventurous things in how you create, in how you connect, and any aspect of your life where you're craving that openness and where this Aquarian energy is really going to be floating with you. So we did start off with that message. Basically, what the note that had come through for me for Gemini was this whole find some grounding, and the Hermit is definitely that. The Hermit is the elder and the sage wisdom, right? So this is somebody who is not trying to fly on the Aquarian energy. This is that deep, quiet internal voice that takes its time, right? And we can access this wisdom every day of our lives. And it's a really great part of our internal wisdom to regularly access, right? Because it does bring us back to a sense of self-knowledge, grounding, anchoring. I was also thinking about this because Mercury is your ruling sign and will be retrograde this month, which, because you work with mercurial energy naturally, isn't particularly shocking. I mean, Mercury does this 3 times a year. And it's almost half and half as far as like if you include pre and post shadow and the actual retrograde itself in a given year, it's almost half and half time that Mercury is doing integration work or just out of shadow and doing regular work. So it's not unusual for Mercury, right? But this is a time when you may be using some of your mercurial wisdom in that more introspective way as well. That doesn't mean that you aren't going to be growing hugely, because this 9th house energy, once again, one of the big things about it is that it's going to be amplifying how you see the world, helping you to see things from new perspectives, including where you limit yourself, where you feel fear, where you feel nervous. And, I see that here with this Ace of Swords and the Strength card. Now, one thing to keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of breakthroughs, but we want to, and there's a lot of clarity coming through. And I think February, I have been feeling this since probably October or November. I remember just having this intuitive feeling that February was going to be one of the first months for a lot of people where it felt like answers were coming in and like things were starting to connect again, in a way that I think we've all been kind of missing for several months. And I do think, with this Ace of Swords, there is that feel of like you may be getting a lot better, firmer understanding of how it is you're moving forward on a very practical, communicative level. But this Ace of Swords is also opening something up, and it's asking a question in regards to the Strength card, which is, what do you want to sustain? And this is a question that comes up time and time again with all this energy in Aquarius, because one of the things about Aquarius is while it is a revolutionary sign, it is an air sign, it is electrical, innovative, free-spirited sign, it is also still a fixed sign. And this is part of the duality of Aquarian energy, is that it is still about what you want to sustain. Any kind of innovation or change you want to make doesn't really have value if you just burn yourself out over 2 weeks and you never come back to it again, right? And so the Strength card is speaking to that. It's speaking to, you may want to be like putting your hand in that candy jar this month, because it is going to be such flowing energy for you Geminis through Aquarius season, and just ready to like get all your ideas on paper and go. Just pay attention to what you want to sustain, because the Strength card is going to tell you there are certain things you're going to really feel calling in your heart, and you are going to want to be really clear on why you're wanting to bring those into existence, and knowing that it's going to take some time and you're going to want to use some patience in getting there. So, you're getting some deep wisdom from the Hermit and the Strength card, which I love. I mean, those are 2 of my favorite energies to work with personally. And what I'm kind of noticing is with this 9th house thing, the 9th house is the big picture. It's not like Gemini energy is often associated with the short term and with like what you're doing here and now in your communication and I love that energy. And the 9th house is kind of the other side of that spectrum, which is the expanded, zoom out and really look at this big picture. And the big picture means that we are understanding that, it's going to take time to grow and build into. And so you may be finding that you're also getting challenged to understand that not everything's going to be at your door this month. Now we have 8 of Swords. The card that I most deeply associate with, like, right before you have a big breakthrough, you often will find yourself in 8 of Swords energy. A lot of people will find themselves in an 8 of Swords kind of experience, which is feeling like you really can't see, you can't move, you can't tell what's going on. You're a little like freaked out by this feeling like you can't move. And it feels so real. It feels like this is just how it is, right? And it's like you can't see until you can see, right? So it's, as these answers are coming through, like what I'm noticing in February is this is like a transmutational time for you, where you may be finding that you're getting new hits on like what it is you want to sustain. And also, with this Mercury retrograde, it is doing something which is making all of us kind of have to remember that even when things feel like they're going backward, or even when we feel like they're not going in the nice direction we had charted for February, it doesn't mean that we're not moving forward. And so Eight of Swords for me is speaking to some kind of progression or growth that you don't totally understand while you're going through it, that is a little uncomfortable. Ninth house energy will also work with your paradigm, with how you're seeing the world and those deeper beliefs you have and how you are thinking and speaking to yourself. So this is also a time where maybe you are going through a big combing through of what those are for you. I am going to pull a final card for our conversation today from the Animal Totem Tarot. It's a beautiful deck, and just have a final message for you. Overall, the energy is really strong here. It's very clear. There is something specific to focus in on, one or two things that are like for you that you're going to be noticing time and again. And there may be an element of mystery in that, but it in general should be pretty clear to you where your energy is getting pulled. King of Cups showed up, getting pulled. King of Cups showed up. Let's read the beaver's story. I think that's a beaver. I've got to find it. I always have to find these things, and it just always takes me like a crazy amount of time. Yes, the beaver. I love beavers. They're so amazing. Such magical, funny beings. Okay. Did you know that what you build with your skills can literally change the landscape around you? All you have to do is trust that your gifts are not just for you alone, but were given to you to be of service to those around you. You just never really know what sort of impact you will have until you become active in playing the part that only you were created for. That is so good. And actually, you know, as I see this, it's kind of like that calling forward, that not knowing, right? That feeling of like, can I handle this? Comes from possibly you getting called forward to be a beautiful part of your community, of your friendships, of the work you do in the world, how you care for others. And I think, you know, when we are asked to fully step into vulnerable, authentic spaces in our lives, it's really scary. Even though it's the most natural part of us, it's so scary because we've been taught that to mask and to act parts is how we stay safe in this world. So to therefore go against all of that and come back into our authenticity, into our caring selves, into that space of building from something beautiful, is the scary movement of life. And I think this Aquarius energy is going to bring so much cool stuff for Gemini, and the rest of the North Node being in your sign as well. You know, you've got most of this year to play with that North Node, and it is calling you up and out. It is calling you to be a voice of deeper wisdom, a voice of deeper nurturing, and to access something that I think maybe has been a little scary to access for some of you. But what's really exciting about it for me still, though, is that you are no longer doing the underground work, like all that integration work. Now you get to take everything you've learned from the last few years in that space that kept asking you deeper and deeper and deeper questions. You get to take all of that knowledge and you get to come back out into the world and play in the air energy and share in a beautiful and healing way. And it is time for that. So I'm really excited to see how this month feels for you. I'm very intrigued by February in general because I truly, like, when was the last time we've ever had this much Aquarian energy happening? It's just very unique. It's very different than anything we've been working with for a very, 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 very long time. So Totally intrigued. I hope you have a beautiful February. You can find me on my Patreon, where we are going to be going over the details of this Mercury retrograde in Aquarius. We're going to be getting adjusted to Aquarian energy. We're going to be doing some worksheets and some exercises. It's going to be so much fun. So I'd love to see you over on my Patreon. We have such a beautiful community there. You can also find me on Instagram and on my website. So I'll leave all of those links below. And you can find PinkLune's gorgeous jewelry on her Etsy shop. I will leave her link below as well. Have a beautiful February, and I will talk to you in March for more Piscean magic ahead.